need, and your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back, because at GE, we're not satisfied until you are.
GE Summer Sizzler Sale at Cooler Appliance Company, Rockford and Belvedere.
The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and Late Night with David Letterman will be seen in their entirety following this NBC News special report.
Disaster in Sioux City, Iowa. A United Airlines jumbo jet crashes during an emergency landing after an engine fails. Investigators are trying to find out why. Good evening. I'm Mary Alice Williams. It is a story of overwhelming tragedy and remarkable survival. United Flight 232. It begins in Denver. The DC-10 takes off on a flight to Chicago, its ultimate destination, Philadelphia. But somewhere over Iowa, one of its engines fails. The plane is diverted to Sioux City. There, as it attempts an emergency landing, the plane crashes, breaks apart, burns. 290 people were on board. Our latest information is that 100 or more were killed, but 186 survived. We begin our coverage tonight with NBC's Roger O'Neill in Sioux City.
The DC-10 exploded in flames when it hit the ground just short of a runway at the Sioux City, Iowa airport. The only discernible piece left of the big plane was what appears to be a section of the fuselage. The pilot's first report of trouble was that he blew the number 2 engine, the one in the tail of the plane. While there was nothing left of the United jet, there were survivors, including some who walked away from the crash. United Flight 232 left Denver en route to Philadelphia with an intermediate stop in Chicago. It was fully loaded, 287 passengers and a crew of 11. United's chief DC-10 training manager, Mike Downs, told NBC News he cannot believe the plane lost all of its hydraulics, as has been reported. Downs said a DC-10 has 8 backup systems to its 3 main hydraulic pumps, and there has never been a total failure before. The United pilot at the controls of the ill-fated plane was talking with company maintenance managers in San Francisco for at least 25 minutes before the plane went down. United classified the problems aboard the plane as a red alert, indicating grave problems.
I could not speculate what occurred. Obviously, the accident occurred on landing in an emergency situation.
The DC-10 almost made it, missing the runway by just 75 feet.
He looked like he had enough altitude to make the runway, but at the last minute he lost altitude and he crashed. We'll see what the results are.
Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Sioux City, Iowa.
The plane had been delayed briefly in Denver with electrical problems. David Landsberger was one of the passengers aboard that flight. He joins us now from Briarcliff College near Sioux City. David, can you tell us what happened from the moment you knew there was trouble?
Well, about a half an hour before we crashed, there was an explosion, and I guess that was our first sign. We lost some altitude, but they announced that we'd be okay, we'd just be a little late, and everything seemed fine for 10 or 15 minutes, and then the plane started kind of rolling back and forth, and the engines went powered up and powered down a few times.
Did the pilot warn you that you were in trouble?
Yeah, around 15 minutes before, or 10 minutes before, he said that we would have to divert and land in Sioux City, and he said that he wasn't going to fool us, that it was going to be an extremely rough landing, and that the stewardesses would teach us how to brace ourselves and how to evacuate in case it became necessary. And then they did that, and we drilled a couple times on how to brace ourselves and where to go and which exits were closest to us. And 4 minutes before, they warned us that we were going to touch down, and then about 2 minutes before, we were told to brace ourselves, and we all braced ourselves, and that's when then we hit. We hit real hard. That's when I cut my head a little bit.
Describe what happened. Did the fuselage fill with smoke immediately, David? Did the emergency exits work as you were instructed to use them?
Well, it all kind of went topsy-turvy because we turned upside down. We skidded down the runway on our sides for a while and then flipped upside down, and we skidded down upside down. And when we came to a stop, we were all hanging from the ceiling, strapped to our seats. I let myself out, and the people around me did. And the emergency door we were supposed to go out, we couldn't find. It was closed. It wasn't open. And we looked the other way, and we could see daylight. So we all started heading for the daylight. There was no smoke. There was no panic. We just started walking down the aisle, which was really the ceiling, climbing over the debris and the overhead compartments and stuff towards daylight. And we just stepped out, basically out of the middle of the plane into the cornfield. There was just no door. There was no end to the plane. We just stepped right into the middle of the cornfield, and then everybody just started saying, "Get away from the plane, get away from the plane," and we started running down the cornfields, to get away, all in the same basic direction. But I didn't see any smoke. A little bit up front I saw, which is why I headed towards the back. Until I got like a couple hundred feet away from the plane, I turned around and I saw the smoke, and I just didn't even believe what I saw when I turned around.
I know that when events are happening that fast, David, all you can think about is survival. At what point did it dawn on you what had really happened?
When I turned around, and actually when I got to the other side of the cornfield and climbed up there's a little rise and a little road, and I turned around, and that's when I could see that the airplane was on its side or upside down and burning, and I could see the other section of plane and see that we were near an airport. I mean, until then, I thought we were just in the middle of a cornfield and we had just turned upside down. I had no idea that the plane had broken up or that we were anywhere near the airport or anything.
One more question. Where were those who made it out with you sitting?
I've met people from row 9 back to about 20. Everybody from about row 9 back to row 20 pretty much got out that I've met. I have not met a single person in front of row 9, which would be first class. I didn't meet anybody that had gotten out from first class, which would have been in front. And I didn't meet anybody beyond row 27.
Okay, thank you very much. We're glad you're safe, David Landsberger from New Jersey. We're going to go back to NBC's Roger O'Neill, who is standing by live in Sioux City. Roger, I know you flew to Sioux City with some United DC-10 experts who had been monitoring some of the crosstalk as the pilot was talking his way down. Can you tell us about that?
It's interesting, Mary Alice. Mike Downs is the DC-10 Chief Training Officer for United based in Denver. And he was listening in on the conversation that was taking place between the pilot of the DC-10 and the maintenance supervisors in the San Francisco airport where maintenance headquarters for United are. That conversation, according to Mr. Downs, one, the pilot never said to them that he had total hydraulic failure. And in fact, Downs says he can't believe there was total hydraulic failure because this airplane circled this airport 3 times before it crashed. If you had total hydraulic failure, Downs thinks it would have crashed right away. Another interesting piece of information that just came in, 50 miles east of here, east of Sioux City in Alta, Iowa, in a field, there is a large piece of an airplane. It is believed to be from the tail section of this DC-10, 50 miles east of here.
And that might have happened while the pilot was making concentric circles as he tried to land at Sioux City?
One of those 3 circles, obviously it came off during that time. The pilot almost, in fact, made it to Sioux City, Mary Alice. He landed on one of the closed runways. It was certainly still operable to handle an emergency. But he landed 75 feet to the left of the center line of that closed runway. That's how close he came to landing safely here at Sioux City.
Roger, you've said that the experts with whom you spoke said that there were 8 redundancy hydraulic systems in that plane, that there was no way that the hydraulic systems could have all failed, and that the pilot didn't say so. Somebody said so to federal officials, because we've been hearing that for about 5 hours now. Can you clear that up for us?
Well, as I understand it from Mr. Downs, who again was listening to the conversation between the pilot and the maintenance people in San Francisco, the pilot was talking to them. The co-pilot was talking to the air traffic controllers. One or the other may have said one or another thing. But Mr. Downs said in the conversation that he heard, the pilot never said that he had total hydraulic failure. And in fact, there has never been total hydraulic failure on a DC-10 since this fleet has been in the air. There's 3 main hydraulic pumps, 1 to each engine. There are 8 backups to that and 3 backups after that. So there's some 10 or 11 backup systems of the hydraulic systems. That's not to say, however, that it may not have happened right prior to the landing on the ground.
Okay, thank you very much, Roger. Roger O'Neill. There are always a lot of unanswered questions and some contradictions as investigators try to seek through the wreckage as to what happened. And National Transportation Safety Board team is on its way to the crash site. NBC's Andrea Mitchell has been with them through the day. Andrea, what have you got?
Mary Alice, federal aviation officials say that the pilot was talking to air controllers all the way down as he struggled to control his plane. There is an obvious conflict here, and they say that the cockpit was talking to the air traffic controllers. It is conceivable it was the co-pilot, not the pilot. But they say, according to their information, that the pilot first reported engine failure in engine 2. That's the rear engine here at the back of the plane. He then, they say, reported complete failure of the hydraulic systems, the systems that control the wheels, the flaps, and other control surfaces on the wings and the tail. And they still say they have no reason to doubt that report. Officials are speculating that parts from this failed engine here penetrated the fuselage, damaging the control systems. They say the pilot then had a very difficult time bringing the plane down, doing several 360-degree turns, but was able to crank down his landing gear. Now, tonight, a crash team, as you say, left Washington to join investigative units at the scene.
Among them will be the power plants group, the systems group, which will look at the operation of the aircraft systems. Power plants will look at the engines. We'll have a structures group that will be looking at the airframe, a operations group that will be looking at the operation of the aircraft, the background of the pilots, also a human performance group, a weather group, and a survival factors group.
The plane was 15 years old. Tomorrow, officials will examine its maintenance records. The Associated Press is now reporting that federal records indicate past problems with the very engine suspected of failing just before the crash. By the way, officials are very hopeful of recovering the flight recorder, and perhaps that will clear up this very important contradiction between what Roger O'Neill was hearing from United officials and what federal officials are saying they heard from the cockpit. Mary Alice?
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea. This morning, Rabbi and Mrs. Avraham Brownstein of Denver put their 9-year-old son, Yisroel, on his first trip on an airplane all by himself. It was United Flight 232.
Brownstein was going to Philadelphia to visit his buddies. First plane in his life. Sully. And he's alive. He made it. And he asked the social worker.
Can you stop?
Okay.
No, we want to go.
We want to go to...
All right. No, there's a plane. I don't want to miss the plane. Are you going to Sioux City now?
We're going to Sioux City. United has provided a flight for those who want to go at 6:40.
Rabbi Brownstein, what's your first name?
My first name is Avraham. His name is Sully. And he's okay. He broke his arm. He always said he wanted to have a broken arm like his other friends. Well, now he's got one.
Joy on a day that will not soon be forgotten. A terrible tragedy for those who lost loved ones. But after the crash, one survivor recalled that God opened a hole. He said, I pushed a little girl out. I grabbed another, kept pulling them until they were safe. That's our special report for all the men and women of NBC News. Thank you. Good night.
This has been an NBC News special report.